I'm Blair Kerkhoff of the Kansas City Star and KansasCity.com, along with Rustin, Dodd, and Vahe Gregorian. We're here at Scott Trade Center in St. Louis, where a lot of Wichita State and Kansas fans left disappointed. The Shockers, #1 seed in the Midwest region, fell to Kentucky. Kansas, the #2 seed in the South, lost to Stanford. And Rustin, I don't know if we thought that Kansas was going to shoot the ball well. They don't have a history of shooting the ball well in the NCAA tournament, early rounds anyway, recent history. But I don't know if they expected to play this poorly on offense. What happened to the Jayhawks?
Yeah, we talked a little bit yesterday about how the length from Stanford maybe bothered Kansas a little bit. That's the one maybe big-time advantage they had. And it came true. I mean, Kansas struggled to score in the paint. Perry Ellis was 3 for 10. Andrew Wiggins was 1 of 6. The only guy that really played well was Tarek Black, and I don't think it's a coincidence that the one senior on the rotation was the one guy that played really well. I think they were a young team that played pretty tight today, and they came across a veteran team that did some things that hurt them.
That's right. They got 12 from Connor Frankamp, who hit a big three just before halftime, gave Kansas a little momentum, couldn't sustain it into the second half. And then Vahe, you saw a game today that I think we'll remember for a long time. The Wildcats win 78-76. Wichita State with a shot at the end. What'd you think sitting there watching this game?
Well, I'll always remember watching with you. We had a totally fascinated time watching. And you knew minutes into the game this was going to be something special, and it held up. About 3 minutes left, I started thinking, I'm really going to feel bad for whoever loses, and it was painful for the Shockers. And yet you also saw, I hate to say vindication because we knew they were good, but I do think that people leaving here thought that team is every bit of a #1 seed, and that maybe this game was more appropriate for an Elite Eight or Final Four type game.
Absolutely, it had the atmosphere of that. We saw 2 banked 3-pointers in this game. That was wild. First loss of the season for Wichita State. Their season ends 35-1. Kansas will go forward now. With a talented team this year, freshman led Andrew Wiggins, Joel Embiid, and Wayne Selden. Rustin, what's the future of the Jayhawks and these 3 players in particular?
It's a good question. I mean, we talked to them all after the game, and all 3 of them didn't really want to talk about the future. I think it's pretty clear, Andrew Wiggins has been up front that he was going to play 1 season at Kansas, and I think he'll be declaring for the draft. I think that's a certainty. The other 2, there's more questions. I think Joel Embiid has some things to think about. He said he wants to consult with his family, his coaches, his mentor, Luc Richard Mbah-a-Moute from UCLA, and I think Wayne Selden will have some decisions to ponder, but I think he's a pretty near lock to return next year, although he could potentially, at least explore his options.
So read about the Jayhawks, the Shockers, and the NCAA tournament in the print editions of the Kansas City Star and online, KansasCity.com.